what happens is you go from this is who I am and this is what I'm doing to, oh my goodness, there are so many possibilities. And those possibilities, that one definition of anxiety is uncertainty, complexity, as human beings, like, it's too much. Our brains can't cope. Our brains like to focus on one thing at a time. Or somebody with ADHD will say, I like to focus on many things at a time, but actually, ultimately, I know that I need to focus on one thing in order to be able to progress through the world. And we live in this world that is established with structures. We've got systems, we've got education systems, we've got legal systems, we've got political systems, and we live inside them. And our cultures hold quite strong beliefs. And if we have religion in the mix as well, then your religion and the way that influences your personal culture, your family culture, your community culture, is also very, very influential. And so it's very difficult to find our own way when there's clear expectations, and often strong expectations, about what we should be. And I think that word should is very interesting. I think that's part of what the journey that you were talking about, because the word should has this sh at the front, and that sh is the same sh as in shame. Because when we follow the shoulds of life, we have this growing distance from what we believe is right, because if we're doing what we should be doing, we're doing what other people think we should be doing. And as we get this growing distance from what we believe and what we think is right, then we actually experience a sense of shame. I'm not actually following my sense of alignment with what I believe, what I think is important, what I believe is valuable. I'm not doing what I think I should be doing in the world, because we don't call that I should. We call that I want. We call it I need. And people, often I'll ask people, so what is it you want? And I can see this look come over people's faces. It's like no one's ever asked them that before. They've never asked themselves that question before. Actually, what is it that I really want? And it's not like I want a Coke from the fridge, I want a lolly, I want to take some drugs, I want to have some alcohol. That's not that short-term want. It's like, okay, if I think about my life, my existence in its totality, particularly with this growing lifespan. So I'm aware that my kids are likely to live to over 100. What do they want for that lifetime? It's too big to ask, but they have a sense of it. And it's like, well, where do I begin? Where do I want to begin with that journey? Do I want to begin with fun? Do I want to begin with human connection? Do I want to begin with giving back? Do I want to begin with education and learning? Do I want to begin with a sense of fulfillment or adventure or exploration? What is it that I actually, what's going to nourish me? What's going to leave me feeling good? And I often say to people, you want to ask yourself, what's going to feel good now? Maybe not feel good now, but also going to feel good later. So the difference between an apple and a cup of coffee or a cigarette: apple feels good now, feels good later. So a cup of coffee or a cigarette feels good now, feels bad later. So what's going to feel good now? What's going to feel good later? And sometimes what's not going to feel good now, but is going to feel good later. And what comes into my mind is exercise, ice baths, the sorts of things that we're now learning give temporary discomfort, but actually can bring a huge amount of satisfaction and happiness and sense of fulfillment in life over the longer term. So those are exactly the kinds of conversations that I find myself having as a therapist.
Yeah, well, great examples. And it's so important to be able to listen to yourself, but it's so hard to do because the fear is so huge. Because I guess, like you're saying, we hate uncertainty. So often we would rather just stay in pain in what we know than actually take a chance on ourselves and try and do something that's true to us and have uncertainty. And it does eat you alive if you go against that, and you don't want to have that regret, but it's difficult. And it's a really good point that you made outside of that. When you go down that path of making a choice on yourself, it can open up so many possibilities that can become overwhelming in itself. And the modern world, like how can people deal better with the overwhelm of the world we live in now, where we've got AI, we've got social media, we've got, you know, we've got clickbait, we've got never-ending news cycles, and it's very, very hard to sort of stay in your own lane and limit how much information you're taking in. It's very easy to discredit anything that you're doing. I do it all the time where even the podcast is an example. Like, it's something I love doing. It's actually going well. But then I'll open my phone and I'll see Jay Shetty or someone who's filming it like a TV interview, and they've got all these, the biggest names in the world. They're getting billions of listens. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not doing that? And then I just instantly, literally in less than 10 seconds, I can discredit everything that I actually care about. And it's shocking to do that to yourself, but it's crazy how quickly we can go through that cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of things there. The first one is comparison. Yeah, there's a lovely adage. There's the only person you should ever compare yourself to is the person that you were yesterday. And what any of the tips like that, and there's a lot of little tips like that that are really effective. It requires this ability to notice that I've just compared myself to Jay Shetty. Now I'm feeling these feelings. I don't feel very good about myself, because that then takes over. So to be able to have awareness, and this is where where sort of mindfulness coming into to humanity not humanity, to the Western world over the last 25 years or so has been quite profound, because mindfulness helps us be aware of what we're thinking. So when I think that thought, oh, look at that, that I'm nowhere near that, and we can go, oh, hang on, pause. What did Nigel say? The only person I should compare myself to is the person I was yesterday. I'm not Jay Shetty. Shouldn't compare myself to him. Okay, move on. And then you don't get caught in that, but it requires that level of awareness. The other thing that we were talking about a minute ago was that uncertainty of changing, of following one's own pathway in life. And the other terror that you're talking about, the other terror that comes with it is the terror of disconnection. There's this huge portion of counselling and psychotherapy that has its roots in ideas around the bond between children and their parents, children and their community, and they call it, the language that we've adapted around it is around this language of attachment. And a lot of your listeners, and particularly their partners, will have this sort of understanding, or a basic understanding of attachment, and secure attachment, insecure attachment. And the essence of it is that we are mammals. We are of the mammals, we are the ones that grow up the slowest. We are the most dependent upon other humans or other mammals, for the longest time. And so we want connection. There's a huge drive in us to stay connected with other humans. And sometimes we have this drive to get away, but what happens to all of us is we pull away, and then we're alone, and we're like, I just want to be back in contact with other humans. And it's this kind of vicious cycle that we're caught in of pulling away and coming back. So there is that terrible fear that if I do my own thing, if I do me, then they won't understand. They might reject me. They might ostracize me. They may not like me anymore, because often, I became a lawyer, made mum happy. She could then tell all of her friends, oh yeah, look, my son's a lawyer. How proud am I? And then it's like, oh, he's a counsellor. What's that? I don't. And she still says, what is it you do again? Why do you do it? Why do people talk to you? So there's this sort of whole people come from a different generation. I have to keep reminding myself. I've got teenage boys. I have to keep reminding myself. I have no idea of this world that they are growing up into. So for me to think that I know what they should do, and my brain wants to, I'm the dad. My brain wants to say, you should do this, and you need to study hard, and you need to focus on this, and these are the right things to do. I have to remind myself, no, you don't know that. You do not know what is going to be the best pathway for them. All you can do is provide a nice, safe foundation for them to grow up in, so that they get to a stage where they feel ready and willing and confident enough to go out and launch into the world.